Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and in this video we are going to be bringing you part 7 of our fish room tour. It's the last part of the 2020 fish room tour. If you've missed any of the other parts and want to see them, I will put links down in the description below. If you see some cool fish and want more information, check the description below because we may have some species profiles down there as well. In this video, we're going to be looking at a couple of 125-gallon tanks that are more recently set up, as well as some of the smaller tanks on Joanna's nano wall. So I hope you enjoy the video. Appreciate you watching. So this is the 7th and final part of the 2020 fish room tour. We're looking at the last part here is a couple of 125s. These were pretty much the last large tanks that we set up in the fish room. And then over here on the left hand side, we've got Joanna's nano wall with some smaller tanks. We're going to be looking at the two 125s, and I believe she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 smaller tanks. We'll go through those pretty fast. So this is the first 125. This has a mix of fish. We've got some angelfish in here, 4 of them, 4 different types. We have my favorite, I think what is my favorite tetra, and that is the black phantom tetra. And I really like the white skirt tetras that are in here. We have a pair of Apistogramma cockatoides, double reds. And then we also have a pair of crebensis in here, as well as 4 orange laser cory cats and a couple bristlenose plecos, and I think even a few mystery snails. So that's kind of the mix of fish that we have in here right now. When we first set this tank up, our plan was to heavily plant it. There was some jungle val in here, and that kind of died back a little bit. Right now we have a lot of crypts in this tank. We have some Carib Sea black sand. That's the Carib Sea Naturals. Piece of driftwood, some rocks that we got from a local landscaping place. This tank is actually being illuminated by a couple of Fluval 3.0s that we got from Aquarium Co-op. He was the sponsor of both this tank and the Lake Tanganyika tank that you're going to see up above. So check him out. I will put his information website down in the description below if you're looking for some really nice lights. And these lights have been fantastic, fully adjustable, really like them. The angelfish in here are some of my favorites, and I like the variety that we wound up with. We had more, and over time they slowly, some of them died out a little bit. They were very small, so some angelfish sometimes don't make it, but I like the ones we have left, and that is this nice pearl scale type of angelfish. I think it's really going to grow up to be pretty. We see here we've got a black marble, we've got more of a standard angelfish in the back, and then we've got this black angel as well. I really like them when they're younger like this. They kind of hang out together. They're really not quite at breeding size, so I think we're probably going to have at least one pair in here eventually. I see a couple of them swimming around together quite frequently, but it's pretty cool just watching them forage through this larger tank looking for food, as small angelfish often do. They act like they have never eaten a day in their life when you feed them, so I just like the way that looks. The other fish that we have in here, like I said, are these white skirt tetras, and you can see them here. I believe there's 9 of them in here, and I really like these fish. They school together fairly well, certainly much more than the black phantom tetras, as you can see, and they just offer a really cool dynamic to the tank, especially with that darker background and the darker substrate. They really pop. Like it quite a bit. The filtration, we've got a couple sponge filters. We also have a Marineland, an old Marineland 350 that's been running really well. Here you see some half beaks. We have those towards the top of the tank. There's 4 or 5 of them in here as well. This is a nice picture of the black phantom tetras. I really love these. These are definitely my top 3 when it comes to my favorite tetras. This is the top 125. This is a Lake Tanganyika setup for the most part, and I know the plants are not biotope, but I really don't care. I just like the way it looks, and I wanted to have a situation here as these plants started to grow in. I liked kind of the wild look of it. I like the fact that the fish, you almost have to search in the tank to see the fish, and for me, I just like that. There's lots of different places where they hang out. In this tank, we've got a number of different types. We've got some shell dwellers, Neolamprologus meleagris, Neolamprologus Ocellatus, or Lamprologus ocellatus, the gold ocellatus. You see here we've got some Cyprichromis leftosoma. We have some Ophthalmotilapia blues, a couple of females, I believe, a lot of inkfin calvus in here, as well as some Neolamprologus tigrapictilis, which are also in here. You can see there's a female Cyprichromis that's holding. But there's just so much going on, and it's one of the tanks I really like to look at as I watch the fish just kind of interact with all the different plants and the rock work that's in here. For the most part, keeping this tank clean are a few super red bristlenose plecos. They're the ones that are responsible for keeping the tank mostly algae free. I love the mix of fish here. You're looking at the meleagris right here. Again, these are shell dwellers. I find them to be probably a little bit more on the aggressive side. You know, Ocellatus are fairly aggressive, and I would say that these guys are definitely holding their own against them. Over in this corner, and it's really hard to see, but in those rocks there are some calvus in there. The smaller females are kind of wedged in there, and then the males just kind of roam around that structure. They can be a little shy, so we're not going to see a lot of them here. But you see a gold Ocellatus pair there. They've got their shell. And again, what's so cool with all these plants and with all this structure, you get pairs of fish that are really able to just kind of call one little section of the tank their own, and I just find that very interesting. Yes, the jungle val is growing way crazy and out of control. I may at some point pull a little bit of that out towards right next to the front of the glass, but I really don't mind the way it looks. Here's the tiger pictilis. These are cool fish. We actually have probably 8 to 10 of them in this tank. Here's a Meleagris who's kind of shy, but again, super cool looking fish. Cyprichromis just kind of hanging out in the jungle val there. There's a gold Ocellatus. You can see those teeth kind of hanging out. These guys are fearless. They will definitely attack your hand if you put your hand in there if there's any fry. And here's a male Cyprichromis leptosoma. We have these in a 40-gallon. I believe it was part 2 of the fish room tour. I showed you those. A very cool fish. That's the 40-gallon is our breeding tank, and every once in a while I'll move some of them into here. I don't really expect any fry in this tank. I'm certainly not going to be able to pull any fry out of here, just because there's so many different types of fish in here that would eat fry in a community setup. And this tank, just like the one below it, is being illuminated by a couple of Fluval 3.0s. We also have a couple sponge filters in here, along with another Marine Land Penguin 350 that's been working out well. The sand that you see, this again is Carib Sea Naturals. It's a white sand. I find the Tanganyikans look best on the white sand. Just their colors tend to look the nicest. When you add a darker substrate, often a lot of the fish muddy up a little bit, and that's just not something I prefer, so we keep it a little bit lighter. All the rocks in here is just flagstone that we got from a landscaping place. It doesn't really have an impact on our water parameters, especially with the fish that we keep. They don't see, they like the higher pH and water hardness, so it works out pretty well. This is one of Joanna's more recent tanks. This is a 3.5 gallon or 3 gallon long. What's cool about this tank is it's like 18 inches long, so it's almost as long as a 10 gallon. Not nearly as high, obviously, not nearly as wide. But I really like the footprint of this tank. She did a really simple aquascape here. Just, the idea was something that you could easily maintain. Anybody could do, have it look pretty decent, so maybe like a desktop tank or maybe something you would have at work. We've got a real simple tiny little Aquatop sponge filter on this tank, and then just some Japan blue guppies. I think they're all males in this tank. I don't think she really wanted any breeding. She didn't put any plants in here, no hornwort to protect fry, but I like the tank. I think it turned out pretty well. The next tank we're going to look at is the 12 long. I absolutely love this tank. I think it's still probably my favorite tank that she's done on her wall. The 12 long is a super interesting tank. It's made by Aquatop. We've done a video on this before when she set it up. I'll put that in the description below. And by the way, again, we've got a lot of species profiles on a lot of the fish that we've done here that will be in the description below as well. But this tank is 3 feet long. It's a 12 gallon. That's 3 feet long. How cool is that? A big footprint. Now for this tank, she's gone basically with just, for the most part, rasboras. She's got some lampi rasboras in here, and then she's got some galaxy rasboras, and that's about it. I believe there might be a couple sparkling gouramis in here, maybe a super red bristlenose. And here's a 5.5 gallon pea puffer tank. We've got 2 pea puffers in here, and we have a small bristlenose pleco that will move out of here after it gets to an appropriate size. It's kind of a grow out for him, but super cool tank. Again, I like the plants, the rock work. It's just something that is nice to look at, but also easy to maintain. And here we have a little 3.7 gallon betta tank. This has just got 1 betta in it, and this filter is not normally spewing out all these bubbles. We usually put sponge over our intakes. That one needs to be readjusted real quick, but this is a cool betta. I like this setup. I like the scape. The tank itself, I'm not super crazy about, but definitely a cool fish. These next 2 tanks are actually 7.5 gallon cubes. This is the Betta Machai. We've got a couple of them in here. We thought we had a pair. It looks like we probably actually have a couple of males. They are getting along just fine in this tank right now. Normal bettas, you would never do that. They would kill each other, but these ones are doing okay so far. I will probably swap one of these males out for a female, but I really like these fish, and I think it's something that Joanna's going to want to breed here in the not too distant future. And this next tank is a pumpkin shrimp breeding tank, Neocaridina. We started with maybe 6 or so in this tank, and there's actually quite a few in here. Actually, when I started shooting this video, I realized there's a lot more in here than I saw at first, but it's pretty cool. I like these shrimp quite a bit, that nice orange color. Just something different to look at. I think she did a good job with the scape overall. And finally, we have our Fluval 5-gallon for a betta. So that was the last part of the fish room tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.